Welcome to Montgomery County Memorial Library Systems Computer Basics Part 1 class. My name is Melissa McNeil, and I will be teaching this program. So let's get started. The overview for Part 1 is that I'll introduce the parts of the computer, how to turn on the computer, special keys on the keyboard, how to use the mouse, shutting down your computer safely, and the basic computer terms. So what is a computer? A computer is an electronic device. Basically, it operates on a set of controls or instructions stored in the computer's memory. Those instructions that are inside the computer are created by people in a coding language and those people are called programmers. A computer can accept data, which is called input. It can manipulate that data, which is called processing, and it can produce information from that processing, which is called output. And then any of that data that is stored on the computer is called storage. So there are basically 4 functions or operations that a computer will do. They are input, process, output, and storage. How to turn on your computer. So basically, every computer is going to have a power button. A lot of people will say it's an on and an off button, but really it is the power button. It is only the off button as a last resort. So where is your power button? Depends on your computer. Most laptop computers you're going to find your power button in the top right-hand corner of the keyboard. For your desktop computers, you're going to usually find it in the top right-hand corner of your big CPU tower. But it's usually going to look like the image you see here on the screen. Those are going to usually be a circle, and you will see that right here. Like this here, my little red circle running around. It's going to have a little circle here with a line through it. Usually they are lit up, not always, but you'll need to look for that little symbol. That's the symbol for power. Once you turn it on, you're going to usually see a screen, especially if it's a Windows computer, general PC computer. You'll see a screen that comes up with the little Windows icon on it. Depending on the operating system that you're functioning on, it may run through a process that says, hi, welcome, and then we'll walk you through also going to, we're getting things ready, that kind of thing. Windows 10 kind of has a dialogue with you to let you know things are starting up. If you've used your computer recently, it won't walk through all of that. If it's a Windows 10, it'll start up pretty quick. Then you will usually have to log into your machine. That's going to either be a 4-digit PIN number or a password for the account that you've logged into your machine. I will go into that further in a Windows 10 class, and that is a separate program. The next thing that will happen is once you've gotten to your actual desktop screen, which is going to look more along the lines like this picture here, then you're going to need to know how to actually properly shut down your computer. So it's very important that you shut your computer down correctly. This also depends on your process, your operating system. So you're going to click on the Start button, which is down here at the bottom. Then you would go over and click on, if it's Windows 7, it's going to be over to the right, and you're going to see where it says to shut down. You would click on Shut Down, and it will close. If it is Windows 10, the shutdown option is going to go directly above the Start menu, and you would click shut down and it will power it off. So we talked about the 4 different processes that a computer does. The first one was input. So you have to have a way to give a computer information for it to function. So the input devices that most computers will use are a keyboard and a mouse. Those are the 2 main options. So keyboards, you type into the computer and it reads the information that is being sent from the keyboard based on the keys that you have touched. The mouse is going to be based on which one of these buttons on the mouse or the scroll wheel here in the middle of how the input is received. You can also use a scanner if you have something that looks like this. This is a flatbed scanner. It's kind of like a copy machine, but instead of copying it and another piece of paper coming out, it copies whatever you have on that glass and copies it into the computer. You can also put digital cameras connected to your computer through a USB port, and it will take the pictures off of your camera or the videos off of your camera and put them into the computer. Other options include a tablet, like a draw tablet. I have one of those at home that I use to edit pictures in various photo editing software that I have, as well as microphones and headphones. I have headphones in my ear right now that I'm using as microphones and a headphone so I can hear what's going on the screen. As I'm speaking, I am giving input to this video as well. This is a scanner. You'll see us use these as well, the barcode scanners, to check out books and to scan your library card barcodes. You'll see those also in stores now as well. That's a flatbed scanner again. And then this is just a microphone. A lot of people will use those for dictation, and you can actually get programs where instead of having to type something, you actually speak into the microphone and it types it out for you. So one of the big ones that you will have to know how to use as far as an input device is your keyboard. So the keyboard has been around for a very long time. Most people use what's called a QWERTY keyboard, and that is from the first commercial typewriter invented back in the 1860s, and it really hasn't changed a whole lot. We've added some function keys and things like that to the keyboard, but it is still pretty much the same old QWERTY keyboard. It does also have, most keyboards have a 10 key, kind of like what cash registers used to have, or calculators. Not all will have that. Like my laptop does not have a 10 key on it, but some laptops do. I have a laptop at home that has a 10 key keyboard on it. And then there are keys created specifically for certain actions or functions that you do either with other keys, or maybe they actually pull up certain items on your computer when they're used alone. And we'll talk about a few of those special keys. So some of those special keys are the shift key. So the shift key allows you to, when you hold down the shift key, you would hold down the shift key and then press a letter, and that gives you a capital. Or if you notice at the top of the keyboard, you will have numbers from 1 through 0, but at the top of those keys, you have things like the exclamation mark, the @ symbol, the pound sign or the number sign, dollar sign, and so forth. To get those things at the top of a key, you would need to hold the shift key down and then press it. So you're holding that shift key down, and as you hold down the shift key, you go up and press whatever other key you need. When you're done with that key and you don't want to make a capital letter anymore, then you let go of the shift key. You can also hold down the caps lock key, which is right above the shift key on the left. That will do the capitals, but it will not actually make your the symbols at the top of another key. So in order to get those special symbols, or the things that have two things on the key, you want the ones at the top of the key, you will have to use the shift, hold it down, and then press the other key. Another special key is the control keys. You do have two of those as well. Using the control key, holding it down, plus pressing another key on your keyboard, like control plus the letter S, that gives you different functions. They're shortcuts. So control S saves whatever you're working on. Control P will print whatever you're working on. Control O will open a file. Control C for copy, copies whatever you have highlighted, that kind of thing. So different little shortcuts. This is a shortcut key so that you don't have to use the mouse to do certain things. Another special key is the Alt key. You do have two of those as well. They're on either side of your big long space bar at the bottom. Those keys usually are done with the function keys at the top, or you could use it with the tab key to get a list of all the open programs or applications or apps that you have on your computer. Those particular shortcuts will help you get a couple of things done a little bit faster. Now, you can use the control plus the alt, and then you have a delete key, and that will help you if your computer is frozen and you need to get to the task manager, or you need to log out, or you need to restart your machine. That will help you with that, and we'll talk a little more about that later. Another couple of special keys are the escape key and the F1 key, and they are right next to each other up in the left-hand corner of your keyboard. The ESC, or escape key, if I were to press that right now, I would get out of my PowerPoint presentation that I have going on here that you see on the screen, or it'll help you cancel things, like if you're on the internet and it's not loading, the page is just not loading and it's just sitting there spinning. If you press the escape key, it will stop trying to load that page, and then you can go up and refresh it. There's a little circle, be a little circle up on the screen that you can press on, and that's a separate class as well. But you can press on it and refresh the page, and sometimes that helps it load. Just sometimes it gets stuck in a loop and it just doesn't finish. And then the F1 key is, in general, the universal key for help. I need help with whatever program you're running. So that's a good key to know. So that F1 is right there next to the escape key, and it has F1 on it. It says F1. So it's not like pressing the F key and the 1 key together. It's just one key, and you don't have to press any other key with it. Some more special keys that you want to be aware of are the print screen key. And so you have a print screen, and it kind of depends on what keyboard you have. My keyboard that I actually have is set up a little different. So that print screen key, I would actually have to press a key called the FN, or function key, to get it. It's blue. And I know that I have to press it because print screen is written in blue on another key. But a lot of keyboards, it will just have that PRTSCR written on the key. That's the only thing on that key on your keyboard. And if you press it, A lot of people think that it will print whatever's on your screen. That's not what it means. What it does is it takes a picture of it. It copies what is on your entire screen, and then you can go and paste it into an email, into Word, into PowerPoint, into whatever kind of document you're wanting to put it in. So for example, if you were having trouble with something, say you're wanting to email me with a question about a program you're having trouble with, and you wanted to tell me what that issue is, you wanted to give me a picture of it, you could do print screen with what the issue is and then include that in your email. You could just paste it into the email. And that way I would know what you were needing help with. The other one that you're definitely going to use a lot, especially if you have Windows 10 as your operating system, because it tends to turn off the number lock every time you restart your computer, is the number lock key. And that one is going to be if you have a 10 key on your keyboard, you're going to have a num lock or number lock key at the top of that 10 key. It's usually on the left-hand side corner above the 7. And you'll know whether it's on because there's usually a light, and you can see it right here on this example keyboard. It's that one right there where my little red circle is. That light will be on if number lock is on. That will be able to help you with it a little bit, so you'll know whether it's on. If you're not sure, you can press that key and you'll see the light go out, and then you press it again, you'll see the light come back on. And then the last one that's on this page is the Windows key, and it has like the little Windows flag on it. It's usually right down there at the bottom left-hand side near your Alt and your Control keys. That one in combination with other items will do several things. So like, for example, if you need to get up and walk away from your computer and you want to make it where you have to be able to log into your computer so no one else can have access to what you're working on, then you would use the Windows plus the L key. So hold the Windows key down and then press the L key. That will lock your computer. And then when you come back, you would just have to touch any key or wiggle your mouse, and it will wake up the computer, and you would have to type in your password or your PIN, and then it'll open it up and you'll be right back where you left off. The Windows button will also pull up the start menu. So if you just press the Windows key, and then your start menu will pop up. So that's another option as well if you're trying to get to the start menu. So now we're going to work with the mouse. So we've talked about the keyboard a little bit. I will teach a keyboarding class on how to place your hands on the keyboard and improve your keyboarding skills at a later date. For the mouse and the cursor, so there are different things that you need to know. First off, this is a mouse. They come in different shapes and sizes. I have some that I have one that I hold to the side. It's supposed to help if you use a mouse all day like I do. There are some that you have a roller ball that you don't even move the mouse around. You just roll this ball with your thumb or with your finger, and then you click buttons on the sides. You never move the mouse around on your table. You can get some that have different colored buttons on them. You can get some that have keyboard buttons on them. My son has a gaming mouse like that where he plays video games with it. I don't know why you would want to do that, but yeah. And then you can get the average mouse like this. You can get some that don't have cords, that are wireless, all kinds of mice. But the basic mouse is going to fit in your palm. You're going to be able to take and put your hand on the mouse. You're going to want one finger here and one finger here. So you've got one mouse button on this side, one mouse button on this side, scroll wheel right here in the middle, okay? And you really don't have to hold it hard. You don't have to grip it. It's not going to run away from you. You can just relax your hand on it and move it without a whole lot of issue. And I am going to kind of move my screen down a little bit so that you can see me using my mouse as I'm using this. Okay. So you can see how I use the mouse. I can use the mouse very easily. Okay. I'm going to pull my screen back up so you can see me again. All right. And so your cursor is what you're controlling on the screen with your mouse. So right now my cursor is that little dot. I am going to change it back to the normal cursor. So you can see it's now an arrow. It's a white arrow, which is what this is talking about. If you're over text that you can type in, which mine is not going to do that right now, it will be like a big capital I. If you're over an image that you want to be able to move around, it's going to be an arrow like what you're seeing here, except it's going to have an arrowhead here, and then you're going to have another one going across it. So it kind of makes an X with arrowheads at the end. And then if you're over a website or a clickable link that'll take you to a website, then you're going to see a little hand that kind of looks like this. Okay, and that means you just have to click on it and it'll take you to somewhere else. So the mouse lets you interact with the screen. Quick and simple way to interact with your screen. All right, so holding the mouse, I kind of talked about that already. But you just want to rest your hand, and I'll pull it up here. You want to rest your hand on here. And once again, just put your fingers on either side of that scroll wheel. And then just relax your hand. The other thing you need to make sure you do is you want to make sure that the mouse is pointing towards your computer. You don't want your mouse turned to the side, because when you go to move it, you're not going to be able to control that cursor. It's not moving the way that you think it should. You want to have it facing towards the computer, okay? You do want it on a flat surface. Used to, you had to have a mouse pad, and this is what a mouse pad looks like, and you can see them in the pictures, but this is a mouse pad. You can have all different kinds and sizes of a mouse pad. I have one at my desk at my other location that's about this wide, and it actually has a charger for my phone on the side. My son has one that fits under his keyboard, and it charges his phone on the side too. So his is about almost 2 feet long that sits on his desk. Or you can not have one at all. As long as you have a smooth, flat surface, you're good to go. You don't really have to have one anymore because of this right here. This is a light, and so it actually, the laser actually will pick up anything. I mean, you can see that I'm moving it on my hand. It doesn't do as well because my hand is not flat, but I can take my wireless mouse, which has the same viewer on it, and run it along my leg when I'm teaching in-person classes, and it picks it up just fine. Okay, so when clicking the mouse, normally you're going to left click. So a single click on the left lets you choose, or like in my case right now, I am moving to the next slide. I would just left click one time. If you are clicking, you want to make sure you're not pulling the mouse towards you. That's why it's really important to just rest your hand on the mouse. Don't grip it. It's not going anywhere. And you really don't have to press it hard. You just lightly press down on the mouse. You don't have to beat it. You don't have to whack it. It's a light click. And then also make sure that you do just even gentle pressure. If you're pressing too hard or you're holding the mouse too hard, you're going to end up pulling the mouse towards you, or moving it left or right when you click. If you do that, the click's not going to be acknowledged. It's going to think you're clicking and dragging instead of just clicking to try to choose something. So you want to make sure that you take your time with that. Now, I mentioned clicking and dragging. When you click and drag, that is to move something or to highlight something if you're wanting to change it. So if you do that, that's okay, but you have to hold the button down and move your mouse. And that takes a whole lot of practice, but it is something that you might want to do. Right clicking, so that's with this finger over here, right clicking here will usually pull up some kind of context menu, or it will allow you to get some more options. Basically, right clicking means I want more options. Left click means I choose this. Right click means I want more options. Okay. If you want to open an application or a program on your computer, so like if it's on my desktop right here, this is actually a screenshot of my desktop a few years ago. If you wanted to open one of these, this requires a double click. Now, this is another reason why it's really important not to squeeze it too hard, not to click too hard when you're clicking. Because if you do, that double click is going to not be recognized either. It's going to look like you're moving things 2 times. Okay, so keep your hand still and just go click, click. It's a fast click. So click, 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 click. Okay, move your finger twice. You don't even really have to pick your finger up. So if this is my mouse button, it's click, 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 click. See how my finger goes down? That's all there is to it. Okay, and it will open up the program. Now, if you're trying to open something that's down here on what's called your taskbar, and we'll go into more of that later. Desktop is up here, taskbar is down here, and then this is your start menu button, okay? The taskbar only requires 1 click. So in a later class, I will tell you how you can pin things to your taskbar. And if it's things that you open a lot, and you have trouble with the double clicking, then you want to pin it to your taskbar or put it in your start menu so it's quicker to click on it and you only have to click once, okay? Scrolling, you'll see scroll bars like these. You'll have one up and down. If your window cannot hold everything on this that needs to be seen on the screen, you'll have one going up and down. If it won't hold everything going side to side, you'll have one going side to side. So you have the option of using the arrows at the top, and you can just click on them. Just keep clicking or hold your mouse button down while you're on that arrow, and it'll go up or down really fast. Or that click and drag thing. You can click on the bar and drag it down. So hold the mouse button and drag backwards, okay? Or drag forward or to the side, left or right, okay? Using the scroll wheel, that's another option. Instead of using that scroll bar, if you're in the middle of the screen and you use the scroll wheel and pull it towards you, it will just, when you're scrolling, you're just going to do like this with your finger and it will scroll the window. Okay. So in review, to click the left mouse button and hold it to drag items to the desktop, there's this one here. So you're going to left click it down and pull or move it here or there or whatever on whatever item you're wanting to move. Gently click the left mouse button without moving the cursor. That's a 1 click. Okay, so I chose this. If you double click the left mouse button to open an application, so that's here, and it's click, click. 1, 2. and then right click the mouse button if you want more choices. So right click over here and then use the scroll wheel up and down. Okay, you just roll this wheel right here. Like I just moved different screens. Okay. All right, so drop down menus and text boxes. This is another thing that you will use your mouse for. So if it's a drop down menu, it's going to have a little arrow here and it's going to ask you to choose something. You click on it and it's going to let you choose one. So you left click on the drop down, it drops down, and then you choose one of them by left clicking once. I choose this, okay? If it's a text box, you're going to put your cursor in the text box, click once, and then you go to your keyboard and you type in your answer. Okay? That's the difference between those two. All right, CPU. What is the CPU? The CPU is the brains of the computer. That's the brain. That's what tells it what to do. So in the memory of it, it actually is the temporary storage. So it's fluid storage. This is where things can get recovered if, say, you have a power outage or whatever, and then the computer comes back up and it goes, oh, you were working on this. Okay. Any data to be processed must be stored in memory. That's called the RAM, the random access memory. All the data in a computer is in the form of binary numbers. So it's all ones and zeros. It's a combination of ones and zeros. It takes 8 bits in binary language, so ones and zeros, to make 1 byte. 1 byte to make 1 character, such as the letter A. Okay. Memory is measured in kilobytes, 1,000, megabytes, which is 1 million, gigabytes, which is 1 billion, or a terabyte, which is a trillion. Okay. A computer with 64 megabytes of memory, which is so out of date, will store 64 million characters, which is only approximately 500 pages of text. So that tells you right there, 64 megabytes of memory is not near enough memory. My last paper I wrote for my college degree, my master's degree, was over 500 pages of text. So not near enough memory on a computer. A computer with 1 terabyte of memory can store 128 DVD movies. So that's getting there. That's better. Okay. So processing. The central processing unit is designed into a chip called a microprocessor and is smaller than the size of the palm of your palm. So it's smaller than right here. Okay. Most of the high-end microprocessors, and this is probably even out of date here, will store 55 million transistors with a 2.66 gigahertz clock speed, or processes many tens of millions of instructions per second. And there are a lot of computers that are much faster than that now. The CPU is made up of the control unit, which interprets the program instructions, and the logic or arithmetic unit, which performs the math or the arithmetic process, which is the automatic abacus. Okay, so basically what all that means is it's the brains. It performs what you're asking it to do. It does the process part of that 4-step thing that I talked about. Okay, output devices. So output devices, first one, biggest one is going to be your monitor. If you have a laptop, it's the screen on the laptop. Okay, so it comes out in pixels, and the better the resolution, the clearer the picture, the more little pixels that you have on the screen. They're tinier, they're better resolution. Okay. Your other one is going to be any printer that you have. If you have a printer, laser printer, works more like a copier, then you're going to get better quality pictures, that kind of thing. That's going to give you an output. So I've seen it on my screen. Now I've sent it to my printer back here in the corner, right back here. Those are both outputs. I've typed it in with my keyboard and my mouse. It's processed it in the CPU. Now it's outputting it over here, okay? Storage devices. Your storage devices are going to start off with a hard drive or hard disks. The majority of computers now are coming with a solid state drive, which is an SSD. Some lower priced computers are still going to have the regular hard drives that look like what you see in this picture. Those are magnetic disks that spin. This is why you don't want to use that power button to turn it off. Okay. When you do that, it's like slamming on the brakes in your car going 150 miles an hour down the freeway. It's not good. It's going to be bad for the brakes. Those two discs are slamming together. So you want to stop that. It's not good. You get bad spots on your hard drive, and then basically you're losing places where you can save things, and anything that was saved in that bad spot is now not going to be available to you. Solid state hard drives, or SSD hard drives, are better because they don't have that spinning magnetic disk thing. They're more stable, and so you don't have as many issues with them that way. Other storage devices include CD-ROMs, once again, or DVD-ROMs. Once again, you are putting something onto a disk, so you're taking the chance of scratches, dings, chips. These discs actually can be removed from your computer and put in cases like a DVD, like a movie, or a music CD. So the problem with that is that they can get broken. I mean, they're just like a movie. If you step on them or whatever, you're going to break them. So, and you can save anything to these, not just music, not just movies. You can save files, things like that. So a lot of people, what they would do, my husband included, would take a DVD. We have a DVD burner, and you do have to have one of those in order to do this. But you could take and back up the entire system on this DVD and then store it. Well, now you've got to have some place to store this. So it's also space consuming as well. So it is an option in case you have to have a restore on your computer, something happens, or your computer completely dies. You've got a backup of all of the stuff that you had on your computer. And that's if you don't want to put it on the cloud, on internet storage. But it is an option. Other storage devices include flash drives, jump drives, thumb drives, depends on who you talk to, what they're called, USB drives. Those do require you to keep up with them. That's the key. They can break down over time. So I've had them where when you go to pull it out, the whole thing comes out except for the part that's still in the computer that's plugged in. You just have to pull that piece out and be really, really careful and then put it back together. And they come in all shapes and sizes. My husband has one that's about this big. You can barely even tell that it's plugged into the computer. I would lose that in a heartbeat. I have one that's a ladybug, and you pull her head off and plug the other half in. I've got one that's a turtle that's the same way. I've got one that's a bracelet that I can wear. So they're all shapes and sizes. SD cards. SD cards go in your phone. They go in cameras, all kinds of things. I have a slot for one in my car. And you can save them on your computer. You can buy a SD card reader that goes into the USB port on your computer, and then you put the SD cards into the reader. That way you can pull pictures, music, whatever you've saved to it off, or you can save music to it like I do and put it in my car. It's just another way to save and store items on and off your computer. So I mentioned fixing a frozen computer. So you can do that by doing Control, Alt, and Delete. Delete is usually, and that arrow's not really hitting it good, but it's right here on this keyboard. But it's usually going to be somewhere around that print screen button. You're going to have Insert, Home, End, Page Up, Page Down. All of those are going to be together. Usually near the arrow keys, these arrow keys here, it's going to be somewhere around in this general area. But if you press Control, Alt, and Delete together, you will get a screen that pops up that allows you to get to your Task Manager. And that Task Manager is going to give you a list of all of the items that are running in the background. And if you have one that says it's not responding over here in the status, you can click on it and then tell it to end task. And that will close it, close that program, and then you can just click on the red X on this one, and it'll close the Task Manager, and then you can go about doing your whatever you were working on. You can reopen the program that wasn't responding, and usually that fixes the issue. Remember, turning off or shutting down your computer, there are a couple of ways to do it. Like I said, you can go to the Start menu and then Shut Down on a Windows 7 computer, or you can go to Start and then it'll come up and you'll go to Shut Down on Windows 10. It's just straight above the Start menu. The other option is to go to Control, Alt, Delete like we did before, but instead of saying Task Manager, it'll give you the option to shut down your computer at that point. If none of those things are working, your computer's completely frozen, it will not work. Everything I've told you, it will not work. That is when you can use the power button, and you can't just press it and let go. You have to hold it down until it completely shuts down. But that is a last resort. Okay, so that is the end of this video. The next video will talk about an operating system, what it is. I know I've mentioned it a few times. Using the taskbar, the Start menu, identifying different parts of a window, and websites for keyboarding and mouse practice. I hope you enjoyed this program and look forward to having you join me for part 2 of this series. Thank you for joining me.